Hi, thank you so much for joining us today for Beyond Broth's first summit, Nurturing a New World from Chaos to Goodness. I'm Grace Ventura, founder and creator of Beyond Broth. I have such a lovely guest today who I've just seen and been around for the past few years that I've been living in Boulder, I guess 5 years or so, 6 years, and just admired her and everything that she stands for and shares internationally. And her name is Brigitte Mars. Brigitte is a trailblazer as an herbalist. She's an author, a professor, and a natural chef. She has just been almost 50 years, my goodness, 50 years of experience in the field of herbal medicine and nutritional consulting, and I would say the plant kingdom, queendom, is her place of mastery. So without further ado, I would like to bring on Brigitte.
Hi, thank you so much for that lovely introduction, Grace. I'm honored to be here, and I think this is a great example of how are we using our time during this time of great concern. So I know there were a couple of things you wanted me to share. And so what I'd like to share with our listeners today is some ideas on teaching our children well, because they are our future. I'm a mother and grandmother, so I certainly have some ideas. And another thing, I have been speaking a lot on creating a healthier post-pandemic world. Because yes, things are a huge mess right now, but they were a huge mess before the huge mess. That's such a mess. And so, I think most of us in our life, we would look at the times of great upheaval were often the times of a shift or an evolution. And we know that we were headed in a really bad direction before. I mean, every day it was, we're destroying the planet so fast. And now we're having to reevaluate a lot of things. So I know that there's so much gloom and doom, but every day my prayer is, well, what can I do to make a positive difference? And I know that if you're listening to this and part of the Beyond Broth Summit, like those are your intentions too. So I'm also open to any questions that you might want to share, but I'm just going to launch into, children. One of my late great friends, the midwife, Janine Parvati Baker, used to say, children aren't in the way, they are the way. So I really, took that to heart when I first heard that. And I grew up in upstate New York, but I had a French Canadian grandmother. And I'm really blessed because it was my grand-mère, as I called her, who really introduced me to the connection to nature. Her idea of ice cream was to put maple syrup that we had made in the woods with a bunch of lumberjacks on snow. And for me, that was ice, that was crème glacée. And of course I had to learn to speak French if I was going to have any fun at all to communicate with my cousins. So, but I know that, she grew a garden and she kept chickens in the backyard, and she made soap in a cauldron. And I kind of suspected that she was a master of the occult crafts, perhaps because she read tea leaves and palms. But she also really loved God and went to church. So I grew up with a Catholic mother and a Jewish father, and I really appreciated that my parents had a long, happy marriage with two different religions. But when the 60s and 70s came around and I heard about like communal living and organic food and creativity and that we need to get back to the land. I know it was that Crosby, Stills and Nash song. We got to get back to the land. And so a lot of us bought land. And in my particular case, we bought 200 acres in Missouri and invited all our friends to come set up their teepees and yurts and school buses. And during this time, I had 2 children, Sunflower Sparkle Mars, who lives here in Boulder, and Rainbow Harmony Mars, who's an activist, supermodel, author, and Sunflower Mars is a preschool teacher. So what are some tips, I would say, on raising children? Well, I feel that raising children is such a gift and such a privilege, and that there are many wonderful careers here we can have on this planet, but there's something about the raising of children that causes you to love, and your heart just like open like a lotus, and this huge responsibility, and it doesn't always go the way we plan. But I know a lot of parents find it's difficult to get their kids to eat healthfully. So one modality that I've often used is encouraging kids to eat all the colors of the rainbow. So, you want to honor that sometimes kids have their preferences, but you take them to the grocery store or the farmer's market, and you say, you need to pick out 3 red things that you're willing to eat. And maybe next week it's 3 orange things, and they open their mind to,
well, that's great.
Orange peppers, and then, so when my grandkids call me at night, they say, Grandmère, I ate something blue and purple and red today. And I said, and I hear about those greens tomorrow.
Right.
And then, rather than telling kids like, well, we don't eat this, or that's not right, I think you really have to, tell kids why. I think my grandkids were a bit traumatized, but I had them watch this little YouTube called Meet Your Meat. And I said, I'm not trying to tell you you shouldn't eat meat, but you should really know where it comes from. So you make a conscious decision so that if you are going to eat it, it's really with, appreciation, and that you support the best type of animal husbandry. So I think that as young as we can get kids in the kitchen to help make food, the more open they're going to be. Even if it's something simple like, turning the blender on with the lid on, of course, or, tossing the salad or shaking up the salad dressing. So when my kids were young, I would give them the task of collecting wild edible plants in the yard. So, I would say, I'm making dinner and I really need like 38 violet flowers and 27 malva cheese wheels. And I would leave the picking nettles till they were older. But, getting them involved, because really, we need to be Jedi, and learning to identify wild edible plants is really a great skill. So also when my children, Sunflower and Rainbow, were a little older, and they would say, Mom, I need some money. I really need, designer jeans or a skateboard or something. I'd say, okay, we're going to go for a walk around the block. And I'll give you 50 cents for every plant you can tell me the name of.
Wow, that was very generous of you, actually.
Yeah, and something else, like if you know the Latin name, then you get $1, and if you can tell me 3 uses. So yeah, so they would get even more money if they could tell me some uses. And this might sound a little bit like bribery, but I like to think of it as a reward. So as they got older, I would say, Sunflower, you're 15. I really think you should read Clan of the Cave Bear. I'll give you $10 if you read Clan of the Cave Bear.
Wow. I have to say, Brigitte, you really, really are generous. I had 6 kids.
Oh, yeah.
So, right. So they all had jobs, and we had a work chart, and I got this from a great book called Working Together. And it's this mom, a single mom of 5 kids, who just, she was on her own, and she needed help. So she created this whole system of this work chart, and had points and value for the points and the jobs. And we did things like, you took out the compost, you took out the trash, but you would get a point, and the point might've been worth 10 cents. So we might've been, we were up in New Hampshire. So and maybe the cost of living was a little lower. Anyway, I love what just, I think kids getting their value, kids feeling responsible for something, and then being able to learn on top of it this beautiful lifelong, something that will help them forever is plants, how plants heal, how plants feed us, how, and I think that's just such a beautiful thing that you offered to your kids.
Well, thank you. And, they did certainly have chores and take out the compost and set the table and take out the trash.
I get it.
We did it all. We had to do it in French, Spanish. But I was really trying to get them to know more about natural healing. And, just yesterday, I taught my granddaughter how to swallow a capsule because, sometimes it's hard to get kids to take medicine, and you really want them to take the echinacea or the garlic, and, it's so good for them, and it doesn't really taste that good at their age. So if you, put the pill in your mouth and you tilt your head forward, the vitamin will float forward. But if you put the pill in your mouth and tilt your head forward to drink and then lean your head forward, it goes right down. So, I think that makes it a little bit easier. So I still think it's really valuable, and I'm really happy that, I'm having my grandchildren spend a night a week during this time. And I call it Young Wizards Academy because they're out there collecting lemon balm and, making malva pickles and stuff like that. So it's kind of fun.
It's beautiful, beautiful. So as you're talking, I just want to make sure we go, because we hit on a topic, and I'm writing this down because this is the kids' toolkit. And in the kids' toolkit, to me, that's what you're describing. And what I wanted to talk about here is, our children, the children that are here, yes, they are who's our future. And how can they navigate this? What can we offer them to help navigate through this time of great challenge and opportunity? How can we do it? So I've been writing everything down because I love this. And right now, where you left off, that I just wanted to insert this because this to me is the overarching just subject that we're talking about, and I wanted to offer that, that folks are aware of this. It's a little backwards.
Hey, well, thank you. And, this is a time, like, while schools are shape-shifting and who knows how it's going to be, like, this is a really important time to reevaluate what is really important that we're teaching our children. Do they know how to sew on a button, or how to fix a hem, or, change a bike tire, or, whatever it is? Like, I think a lot of kids are not getting these life skills. And, if we're just letting them play video games, I have to admit that I was in a town this weekend, and they had like a video arcade, and some of the video games are really horrific. I thought there was a game on like how to shoot aliens when they come to the planet, and I thought, oh, this is terrible, terrible programming. So we need to really monitor what kind of media is going into our kids by, selecting what media and literature. I sometimes call myself the book fairy, and that's why it was so important to me that my kids read books that were going to enhance their ability to maneuver in life. So anyways, I will say that Sunflower and I had an herb camp for kids for quite a few years. And every summer we would have the kids, and we would, make dream pillows and aromatherapy misters and things that, can help you study if you spray, or things that would, we'd make wild salad. So I think that Sunflower and I will probably turn that into a book in a little bit. But there are a number of wonderful herb books. There's one by Leslie Tierra. There's one by Ellen Everett Hooper, I think her name is. So there are some good kids herb books out there. So yeah, teach them. And if you don't have time, find someone who can, but rather than lamenting that like the kids are home all the time, I think that this is really an opportunity to encourage them to step up, to learn to do more things. And, you know, when we buy them gifts, I just got my, 17-year-old granddaughter for her birthday, a sewing machine, because she wants to, make costumes and clothes. And again, talk about recycling, start mending some stuff and you'll find that you probably have a lot of great clothes. So, that brings us to, another topic of great importance, and it's really for all ages. And I often think in terms of the chakras. So if you were to imagine like a rainbow going through your body. So whenever I have a task like designing a formula or coming up with a lecture plan or something for one of the many classes I teach, I often like to layer it in the form of how would I think of it on every color level. So I think just for fun, I'm going to, share some ideas on how we might create a better world that is involving the entire family, okay? So when I think about red, I think of our connection to the earth. And a great way to connect with the earth, one is to think of alternative ways to move our bodies around. So that might mean walking more. I'm 67, I've never learned to drive a car. It is possible to exist on this planet without a car. We know that cars were killing our planet. One of the benefits of this, pandemonium or whatever you want to call it, we need to reevaluate that the air is cleaner. And so it is very possible to walk, to take a bus, to ride a bike, to carpool, to car share, and to drive less. One day I was feeling, I have to be like an old lady taking my wheelie bag to the grocery store. I'm like the old bag lady feeling sorry for myself. And I thought, Brigitte, there are like 8 organic places to buy food in Boulder. You've got money to buy the food and you got a rolly bag. So what are you complaining about? Not every town has this, this abundance of, organic produce, which I'm so grateful for. We also, yes.
I have a question.
Yes.
So I guess it's my way of, I want to take in what you're saying and apply it to right now. And maybe, we can offer that right now as a little exercise. So as you're speaking, just so I'm understanding, you're talking about the chakras and you're starting at the base and it's the earth. And then you started talking about driving less and I'm in my mind, what I thought was, so we're creating activities to support each chakra. That's what you're doing right now. Yes. So maybe this is a great opportunity to share, like everyone could write down a few things right now.
Okay.
I know I want to. And, it's very selfish, Brigitte. It's just what I want to do.
And that was just a few examples. So red is about our very base. So if you don't know what chakras are, I will say they're, wheels of light. And some say there's 7, some say there's 144,000. But I'm focusing on 7 colors of the rainbow, 7 notes in the scale, 7 days of the week, 7 dwarves, 7 brides for 7 brothers, 7 super universes.
Okay.
Whatever. Okay. But so I'm just sticking with 7. So 7 is about our connection to the earth and it's about survival. It's our most basic primeval thing. So, another thing might be thinking about building the soil. I mean, are you composting? What are you doing to give to Mother Earth rather than just taking? And it's not that hard to compost. I live right downtown. I've been composting for years. Giving things back to the earth rather than just taking is a great idea. So red is also about your personal survival. What do you need to do to feel safe on the planet? So, one possibility might be learning martial arts, or wearing your seatbelt every single time. Maybe, of course, we always hopefully do that. Maybe another thing for survival is getting a security system, or locking your doors better, or just doing what you can to be safe. All right, about your own personal survival.
Your
And then,
space, your boundaries.
yeah, but oh, very good. So, yeah, and that might also mean maybe you walk barefoot on the earth sometime, grounding.
Right.
All my hip friends
Well,
are
that's
into
great. I think
that.
these are helpful for kids or adults, whomever is listening in here. This is about a kind of a kid's toolkit, but we're kids too, adults, adult kids. So, here we are in the first, and how we can honor the earth, how we can, this mother who has given us so much, how can we care? And I love this. So now we're gonna do the second?
Yeah, well, I'd like to get through all 7 so I don't leave you
Yes.
stuck in the middle of mayhem. Okay, so we're moving into orange. So orange corresponds to our sacral center, like our pelvis area. It's our reproductive center. So this is really about community. And, once we've got our own personal survival together, then it makes it a lot easier to think about the survival of others. So whether it be your beloved, your siblings, your family, your community. And I'd say another benefit of this time in semi-quarantine has been, I think a lot of people are meeting their neighbors for the first time, because they're home more, they're out on the porch, they're, riding their bikes, they're working outside. So knowing your neighbors is a good thing, and finding ways of creating community. If you, I know that one thing that's been going on is people have been howling at 8 o'clock. We've been homing over here in our neighborhood, but, that whatever works, but somehow, orange is about creating community. And it could also be, like one of my friends has a virtual book club. How can we find the others that are in resonance with what we believe in? So I'm just going to encourage us to work on that. And, for me, I feel like I have my community of other Naropa teachers, or my Pharmaca cohorts that work there. I have my, just lots of community. But you find your people that you're looking out for one another. Yeah. And, so if we're moving into yellow, to the solar plexus, like our hara, the stomach area, this is about our material comfort zone. So the idea of creating home and hearth, now you care about others, you think about things like, how could I improve the feng shui of where I live? How could I improve the beauty of where I live? But I see that yellow is also about the commitment about, what am I going to put in my body? And so, I found it a little, I don't want to sound mean or judgmental, but I saw this whole line of people with masks waiting to buy, French fries and burgers and milkshakes. And they were like all wearing masks. And I thought, okay, I hope everyone's paying attention to their immune health and eating salad every day and making a commitment to eating organically. But whatever it is, I don't think that one size fits all. So I'm just asking people to choose the food that vibrates at a high level for them, because we certainly don't want to be doing things that are going to weaken our immunity and make us sick. So again, we already talked about eating all the colors of the rainbow, eating more organic, eating more local and in season. So that's a great way that we can be in harmony with this yellow ray. And then if we move into green, this is our center of love and compassion. And this might be a time where we think about other alternative currencies, like bartering more, trading more. Maybe it's also time to think about our finances. I know that could be a really crazy thing, but it might be something like, do you have a will? One of the things that we sometimes are so concerned about the coronavirus is sometimes people die suddenly and nobody knows anything, like, oh, what's going on? Like, you know, where'd grandpa hide the treasure in the backyard? You know, they never told us. So, you know, getting your finances together, doing what you can to get out of debt, to save some money, because, you know, this is a time where if you have a little savings, it's going to help you get through this time with a bit more ease. But alternative currency, I think, is a great other idea. But green is also about how can we live more green? Because we know that our planet has been way toxic. And so maybe it's a commitment to that we're not going to buy any polluting cleansers, that everything we buy is going to be biodegradable. And do you know that you can clean just about anything in your house with baking soda, white vinegar? I'm a big fan of Dr. Bronner's peppermint soap. When I lived on the commune, we used it for like brushing our teeth, washing our hair, washing the car, washing, you know, everything. It wasn't so great for brushing your teeth, but
I was going to say, oh, that would not be good.
but you know, when it's all you had, it was okay. At least it was pepperminty. So how can we live more green? Can we start making our own products and leave less of a footprint? And then green is also about growing a garden. I mean, really, I am a big advocate. I have an article online. It was in Huffington Post. It's called Get Off Your Grass and Create an Edible Lawn, because we are wasting a third of our nation's water to water grass. Nobody's eating the grass, thank you, unless you're a goat or a cow. And I don't see that many goats in the neighborhood when I walk around. So what if we just started creating edible lawns? I have to tell you, Grace, I've been talking about this for over 50 years. And two people on my block have sprayed Roundup, thinking there was this whole like array of wild greens, and the bees and the butterflies were just pollinating there. And like someone who's the son of a dentist, you know, who should know better, just sprayed Roundup, which, I mean, haven't we heard about the lawsuits? So, I mean, ignorance prevails. And I'm just going to say, tell your neighbors when you see people spraying pesticides legally, they're supposed to post a sign before and after, 48 hours before and after, but these people didn't. But again, you know, just try to educate them that dandelions are one of the first food for the bees, that when we spray pesticides, or we spray especially the dandelions, we're contributing to the demise of the bees, and the bees pollinate 3 out of every 4 bites of food we eat. Okay, so it's just like not intelligent. And if you don't want to have some weeds, you have to get over it, because all of those weeds are the ancestors of our wild edible plants. You know, prickly lettuce is the ancestor of lettuce. Thistles, it's the ancestor of artichokes. You know, lamb's quarter, it's the ancestor of spinach. So purslane was Gandhi's favorite food. So learn to identify some of the wild edible plants. And you're right, it's so good, high in omega-3s. So green is about, you know, sharing and growing food. And what can we do? You know, growing green also provides oxygen for our planet. You know, there's an old proverb that says, the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. The next best time is now. So, absolutely. So even if you're not going to live there forever, wouldn't it be nice to move somewhere and there's like a, you know, great old plum tree or apple tree in the backyard? Absolutely. So, and there could be, you know, it would be a way to end hunger if like everywhere there's just like, you know, fruit falling for everyone. Absolutely. So when we move into blue, we're talking about using our voice, which is exactly what Grace is enabling people to do by hosting this summit. So use your voice for a positive change. And that can mean things like speaking out. It could mean speaking your truth, communicating what is. And it's also about creating beauty. But it might also mean, no, I'm going to write that letter to the editor. I'm going to sign that petition. I'm going to tell my friends. I'm going to share something of value. And I'm also going to be about creating truth, beauty, and goodness. This might also be a time to affirm that we're going to use our language more consciously. That instead of saying like, I'm bad at math, we're going to say, I'm taking steps to be better at math, or I'm taking steps to be more organized, and getting a day tripper or something. Yes, I'm big on having a day planner. Another thing I like to say is, if you think it, ink it. You know, that way you speak your truth. I told you I was going to send you that link. Well, I wrote it down, so I did it, didn't I? That's why we're here. Okay, so blue, maybe it's also an opportunity to sing and sing together in community. Rounds are great for harmonizing, and that's a wonderful thing to do with children. I used to sing rounds with my kids, like 3-part rounds before bedtime. And then indigo is about enhancing our intelligence. So what are you putting into here? You know, what are you choosing to read, to watch? I don't, you know, want to be judgmental, but what you allow into your consciousness is what your dreams and your thoughts and your meditations are going to be made out of. So again, I know I do check in with the mainstream media from time to time. Not a good thing to do before bed. But I want to say that, you know, I also think it's really important to watch things of quality that are going to teach you. And my partner and I, something I really love that we do, we think it's Jedi to be multilingual. So when we do watch a movie, we always put subtitles on and watch it in either French or Spanish, because we're going to have to communicate with more people. And, you know, you look at these, you know, movies or survival stories, it's the person who speaks that weird language who doesn't, you know, get executed because they can use their ability to, you know, translate or communicate. So anyways, enhance your intelligence. You know, I read a lot. I read with a highlighter. The field of herbal medicine is something you can learn your entire life. So I'm, you know, and I really think that we want to continue learning our entire life. So another thing we could be doing during this time when things are moving slower is, what new skills are you learning so you can do better out there in the world? Okay. And then last but not least, you know, is the very top of our head, the crown chakra, our center to our connection to the divine. And, you know, I'm kind of watching as this corona thing is unfolding, that people really in this culture don't want to talk about death, but we know that death is inevitable. We're not all going to live to be 100 years old. You know, there's always been stuff coming down the pipes, whether it be the, you know, the Nazis or the slave traders or the Vikings or the, you know, the monsters or the dinosaurs or whatever. Like, there's always been stuff that was out to get you. And so we need to be prepared. And if there's something that you believe in, like, don't wait until you're taking your dying breath to figure that out. Are there sacred texts or practices or things that can help you feel immediately connected to spirit? Because, you know, anytime we go out, it could be our last day. We just never know. So I'm encouraging people to, you know, make that kind of peace and not to be afraid. I'm also an end of life doula. You know, I was really big in the home birth scene, and now I'm, you know, taking part in the, you know, the end of life scene, and find that that's a real honor. And so I just want you to know that that's, so those are a few things that I think of to help us come out of this time, giving a little bit of attention to 7 different levels so we can create a better world.
Oh, that's really beautiful. Wow, I took the notes because you know, I feel that this is such a gift to offer to kids or whoever is drawn, inspired to look at this practice of looking at each of those areas and what can you do there. But it's, to me, it's not just what you're doing, but how you're integrating it into your own values, your own core. I think, you know, I feel for myself that the values that I was raised with were not necessarily the values I evolved into, because I needed to learn for myself what was my truth. What do I feel? And it's being in alignment and living from that place with all that we do. If we're doing it because we think we should, it's not never really owned. And I feel that we are being asked to take a deeper level of responsibility for ourselves, as well as for, what we're creating out there. And I feel that children who could really learn, up-level their sense of power, their own power, because it comes from their taking responsibility and learning these things and acting from their truth and speaking it. And, I feel these are beautiful values that each individual needs to come into, and to guide our children in that way, to me, is where it's at. So thank you for sharing all of that. I feel it was just so clear and useful. I had a question as you were talking. So now I have to find my question. I know. So in the beginning, when you shared this, I thought, wow, so what age group, what age range do you feel, because I know when we started our kids in learning different things, but in your experience in teaching them what you're teaching them with plants and all of that, 2, 3, how old?
From the beginning, like immediately started, when I was speaking to my kids, I would do it using usually French or Spanish, because I knew they would learn English later. But the thing about plants, of course you have to tell young kids, don't put things in your mouth unless you've had it approved, or come show me first, or any of that. But no, it was really very, very young. But with kids, it might be like smelling the mint or smelling the lemon balm. And so now I have a few apprentices that come, and young women in their 20s. And then my granddaughter, the one who's 12, who's here, she kind of hangs out with the apprentices. So she's seeing that these bigger girls are wanting to learn this stuff. And I remember that, my kids would say, oh, Mom, we got to learn that shepherd's purse stops bleeding, oh, big deal. But then I would see them walking down the alley with their friends saying, oh, that's shepherd's purse. You can use it to stop bleeding. So, yeah. So and I will also say Rainbow was like, so embarrassed, can't, I was married at the time, can't Dad get a haircut before back to school night? And Mom, oh, why do we have to have a hippie van? And Mom, can you wear normal clothes? But Rainbow, when she was 18, she got a part in an Oliver Stone movie. And so Woody Harrelson was in the movie. And all of a sudden, Woody was like, all about raw food and herbs and reflexology and juicing. Oh my God. So they became really good friends. And so all of a sudden, all her training was super cool and validated.
Oh, that's great.
And she brought Woody over for dinner a few times. When he was in town, he would come, come and eat healthful food when he was on the road. So I think it really paid off. And Sunflower works at a preschool where they garden there. And so when kids can see the miracle of a raspberry growing or a carrot that they planted, all of a sudden those are going to be their allies. So very, very important. And lemon balm is a great beginner's herb for kids to grow, because it pretty much just takes over. And even though it takes over, it's fodder for the bees, and you can eat the leaves when they're young. And it's a wonderful remedy for colds and flus. It's antiviral, and all the good things about it. It's good for attention deficit. So I think that that's another way to bring the children. And we're being warned in the media a lot about things are going to change. There's going to be shortages of things. So I hope people are thinking about, yeah, you should, think about that. What would you do if the stores got cleared out in 3 days? Would you know what to do? Because I know when the pandemic started, what was gone. Oh, we're out of thermometers and masks and
Toilet paper.
hand sanitizer. Yeah. So it's like, of course you could always use mullein leaves, but they may not be good for the plumbing.
And it's kind of hard in the winter.
Yeah, it's true. But
Yeah. So pretty young, kids will start. I know, oh my gosh, the things you're saying I so relate to, because we shared so many things with our children as well, very young, learning about plant identification and mushrooms and how to make a fire and how to, just on and on. So I very much resonate with the way that you raised your children. And yep, I'm still tie-dye.
well, Grace, just between you and me and all our listeners, I do like to say that a lot of the values that we're talking about are things that the hippies were doing 50 years ago. Not just talking about
it
yoga.
was heart-centered. It was very heart. They really were trying to be heart-centered and understand what that even meant. What is that? And people would get images of it and then, play with the images of it. But they also, I remember I lived in New York City. So I grew up in New York, and I went to the School of Visual Arts. So I was in the art community in the, oh my gosh, when did I go? So that was in 79, 80, 81. And you would see Hare Krishnas on the corner. And, there was I remember such a negative connotation. It was all cult. It was about cults. And yes, cults have gotten really bad raps. I don't need to go down this rabbit hole too far. But the point is that they were really trying to find their truth. They were trying to find, we were trying to find our truth. We were trying to find our heart and knew that there was a better way to live. But how do you get there? How do you get there? Is it through this path of yoga? Is it through this path of religion? Is it, how do we find our way in? And to me, the starting with children and nature and this earth and respect and the goodness, and that's when this whole summit is it's about going from chaos to goodness. It's the goodness that every human being deserves, that every, child, plant, life deserves to be treated with goodness. And I feel like, we're teaching in this way for them to learn the goodness inside of themselves, to hold, to keep it and relate to nature. So these steps and tools that you have offered today have been, I think, really a gift, and I'm very grateful for what you have shared here. We are coming to our close, and I just wanted to ask if there's anything else you would like to add, and that's one thing. And the second is let's first start with that one, and then we'll go to the second one.
Okay, well, I did get in one of my favorite proverbs about planting trees, and another one, I really feel that in the future we're going to have to respect water a lot more. And a proverb that I heard probably when I was 15 or so was, if you have water to throw away, throw it on a plant. And, I love to soak in bathtubs. I don't use that much water, but I always, take that water and I give it to the plants on the balcony if I haven't shampooed my hair that night. But you know, even if everyone had a basin in their sink and they were collecting the water from like rinsing a dish or, you know, an apple from the store, for example, but we need to rethink. We're so wasteful with water, and we use so much more than many, many other cultures. You know, we might like to complain about, you know, the quality of drinking water, but it is at least, you know, safe to drink. A lot of places around the world, you know, drinking water out the sink could be a dangerous affair. But yeah, water is going to be the future. So how we need to respect that.
Yes, thank you. And my second, just to finish up here, is Brigitte. I know we are offering this beautiful, wow, there's so much, it's such gold that you are offering here. And I know that each of us are extending an offer, and maybe yours is going to be a surprise. So if it's a surprise, we will just include it on all the information when people sign up for the summit. So.
Okay, yeah. Well, I think I didn't know about that, but my prize will be 3 conscious hip hop songs done by my partner, Bethy Lovelight, one on dandelion and you know, a couple of wild edible plants. So they'll be educational and you'll learn a lot. Okay,
awesome.
So that's the prize.
Awesome. Great, thank you.
And I'd also like to say, you know, I've written 14 books. Check out my website. I teach on Zoom and in person. And, you know, my intention is to make a positive difference while I'm here. So, you know, you can find me.
Awesome. And you are such a find, truly such a gift. You are offering so much, and so appreciate your generosity.
Thank you.
So, yes, and thank you for being here today. And yeah, let's just blessings to everyone, and we'll see you next time.